you need to be able to seize those opportunities. And I just, again, ask people to take a look at that. At the HRPDC, if anybody watched the news lately, over in Norfolk, they had a street takeover, I think is the term that everybody or some people use, where they're unruly. I believe there was a person there with a flamethrower, et cetera. And probably people in our county may think, well, that's in Norfolk, and that probably happens though there in the cities. As you may know or may not know, in November, we had a street takeover here in the county. One person was injured during that street takeover. So the reason I bring that up is just to make people aware of it, let law enforcement know when these activities occur. My understanding is that our community leaders here in Hampton Roads are working together to make sure we address this illegal activity alongside of our law enforcement leadership. Another couple of little interesting things that were brought up today at various items, or various times rather, I apologize, is they talk about the baby boomers and the number of generation and, and how that affects things like Social Security, workforce, et cetera. Apparently 1957 was a year of a large birth rate. So as that group of people start to hit the 70-year age, you're going to see some other challenges for like localities where you have a lot of retirees that are on fixed incomes. We've talked a lot about that here lately. You're going to see more and more of that. I thought it was interesting when somebody brought up the fact that 2007 was the largest graduating class in a number of years, and they don't expect, I guess I'm assuming they're high school graduates because they were talking about college admissions. So we saw that bump there, and we'll see how that trends out as these young people become adults. And last but not least, well, two other little things that just off to the side is they were talking about the number of people moving from Virginia to North Carolina. All my life, with my family moving from Carolina up here, it seemed like everybody came back in the day, I guess because of the shipyard and the defense industry, a lot of people came up from Carolina to work here, but apparently it's trending to where people from Virginia are going to North Carolina, and some of that is the political atmosphere. And last but not least, because we talked about schools, it's been all over the news as far as budgets and et cetera. Found it interesting today when they said that New York City spends $44,000 per student to educate their students. So I don't know if they're getting a return on their investment. I guess you'd have to read up on that. But the price tag was astounding. So thank y'all for your patience.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ely, got anything?
Yeah, I'm good.
Mr. Gardner?
Just a couple of notes from Western Tidewater Regional Jail. The selection committee for the new superintendent has come up with a proposed new superintendent, and I won't release the name at this point in time because his negotiations are undergoing right now. And subsequently, they've chosen a new chairman of the board, and that's myself, David Garner. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roundtree?
Yes, I attended the Western Tidewater Community Services Board meeting earlier this week. I wanted to let the group and the citizens know that we did adopt the budget for the next fiscal year, which includes between a 2 and 10% increase of pay rates. This does move them to a modernized grade and step, if you will, pay program, and helps with some of the compression issues that the agency has had. The agency employs over 700 individuals, and they have 117 open positions at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to appointments. Any board members have any appointments?
I do. Wetlands Board, I have a Mr. Michael Johnson, a Doggett Lane. And Commission on Aging,
We'll do one at a time.
Okay.
Do the first one. All right, that's your motion.
Motion, accept Liz Vaughn as board member for Commission on Aging.
So what was that
Your
first
first,
name
your first one was what?
Oh, the first one was Michael Johnson?
Okay, we do it one at a time.
Okay. Michael Johnson, a motion that Michael Johnson be appointed to Commission, the Wetlands Board.
Wetlands Board. Okay, any other readiness? Madam?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Yes,
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Okay,
And appointment number 2, Ms. Liz Vaughn to Commission on Aging. Move to approve her for that position.
okay, any other readiness? Madam?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson.
Yes. All right. Anyone else have any appointments? No. Okay. We'll move into special presentations, VDOT update.
Mr. Chairman, I want to introduce Mr. Rossi Carroll, who is with VDOT. There is some information in your agendas, if you can pull that up. Hopefully you can by now, but we want to allow him some time to make some presentations.
Good evening, Chairman Jefferson, other distinguished members of the board. My name is Rossi Carroll. I am the new residency administrator for Franklin, which handles 4 counties, one of them Isle of Wight. Just to give you a little background, I have been the residency administrator for Williamsburg for the past 16 years. Previous to that, I was the district maintenance infrastructure manager. Prior to that, the assistant district maintenance engineer. And I have served in every residency in this district except for Accomack. And 2 of them were closed. One of them is Waverly and the other one is Suffolk residency. So I have been around this area for quite a long time and have worked for VDOT going on 33 years. So nice to be here. So I'm going to provide you with sort of how I do it, update on VDOT quarterly accomplishments, and then kind of look at what we're looking at on maintenance for the next 3 months. If anybody has any questions during the presentation, I'll be happy to answer them, or we can do it at the end. So for this quarter, the quarter is January 1 to March 31st. We completed 799 of 865 maintenance work orders, which was a 92.4% completion rate. Now, the work orders that came in through our customer service center equaled 283. The big ones for that were road patching, surface patching, and a lot of drainage. We also create work orders for stuff that we have planned or doing in the county, which equated to 582 of those. And the big ones there were sign replacement, patching, and drainage. And then we also had a bunch for snow removal, which was actually in this quarter as well for the county. We responded to 4 snow events this quarter, January 15th, January 24th and 25th, January 31st, and February 22nd. Some of the major work completed, we did patching on our primary roads, 17, Route 10, Brewer's Neck, 258, 32. We've done a lot of secondary patching as well. That is also, when I say patching, I'm talking chip seal, pothole patching, and asphalt, cutting and asphalt patching. Some of those roads are Halltown Road, Comet Road, Battery Park Road, Lawns Drive, Stallings Creek Drive, Magnet Drive, Patriots Ridge, Cherry Grove Road, potholes and surface treatment patching on Ballard Road, Joiner's Bridge Road, and Lawrence Drive for asphalt patching, and then potholes on Blue Ridge Trail. We also did unpaved road grading and shaping on Dews Plantation, White House Road, Morgan's Beach Road, Ramus Way, Sandy Ridge, Braswell Drive, Tings Road, Harry Wilson Road, Iron Mine Springs Road, and Maynard Store Road. We did dropper inlet repair on Founders Point at 2 locations on Founders Point Trail. We've done ditch work operations on Tyler's Beach Road, Mill Swamp Road, Peanut Drive, Old Suffolk Road, Lover's Lane, Fire Tower Road, and then we replaced cross drain on Sunset Drive, and we repaired low shoulders on Lover's Lane and Bowling Green. Some planned work that we have, we're gonna ditch both sides of Longview Road, 602, Burles Bay Road, Fort Huger Drive, O'Mara Drive, and Tara Court, and then also Bartlett Circle and Carver Drive. We're gonna pull shoulders and ditches on Route 620, which we've already started, in Isle of Wight. And then we also are going to ditch cleaning on Route 603, West Blackwater Road, and then 614 River Run Trail, and 650 Whispering Pines Trail. We do have a cross pipe replacement scheduled for Dunstan Drive, one on Old Myrtle Road, one on Quaker Road, and the last one being Outland Road this 3 months. Mowing schedules are, we contract out our mowing now for our primary system, and then we have a contract for our secondary system, so they're separated, 2 separate contractors. The secondary mowing started this week, and that includes hand mowing and litter pickup. So when I say start this week, they have to pick up litter for 2 or 3 days to get out in front of themselves, and then they catch up with the mowing tractors. And then we are anticipating the contractor to start our primary system next week. I will say that I did spray the primary system in the county with PGR, which is like a plant growth regulator, which allows the grass not to grow as fast. So I don't know if it worked or we just haven't had any rain, but it seems to be working fairly well on the primary system. We do have drop inlet repairs for, we have curb and gutter replacement on Sundown Drive and Seal Drop Inlet, Sundrop Drive, and then we, Marsh View Court. And then we have drop inlet repair on 36 Duke Street, and then gutter pan repair in Hidden Acres. We do plan to hit our dirt roads again: Drew's Plantation, White House Road, Morgan's Beach Road, Ramus Way, and Purvis Road. We do have sweeping, roadway sweeping planned for the Town of Windsor, Camp Family Highway, Route 58 by IP out that way, you know, where all the curb and gutter is, in this quarter. And then we also, July, will start a rural rustic project in the county for Strawberry Plains Road, and I think there's a resolution that is needed to kind of kick that off. Some current projects: we have our HITS guardrail contract that is gotten up to date. We have paving that is ongoing. We have latex paving on Route 669 between Titus Creek Drive and Battery Park Road. Asphalt paving on Route 10, eastbound areas between West Main Street and 250, 258 Business, those areas. We also have from the city of Suffolk line back to Ben's Grant Boulevard, both east and westbound, be paved this year. And then we also have a full depth reclamation project that will handle Route 669, Carrollton. I'm sorry, let me back that up. We are in the process of getting ready to pave the commuter lot at Bartlett, the commuter parking lot. That is on the schedule this year. And then we're doing rural rustics, and that is going to be around Cary Street. We had the project where we replaced all the drains, under drains, the DIs and cross drains, right there close to, it might be in the city of Smithfield, but right there off of 258. They're doing a full depth reclamation, and that's when you grind up all the road, do cement treated aggregate, and repave the road to make a flat surface type thing. And then also for 665 between Brewers Neck Boulevard and Smith Neck Road is reclamation. And then we also have 711, Route 711 between Brewers Neck and Campbell's Chapel Road. So that concludes that. I do have in your notes a schedule for our primary and secondary mowing. It kind of goes into when we'll provide the contractor notice to proceed, the expected start dates, and then also a completion date for those cycles as well. And that's for 3 cycles for the county this summer. Roadside contractor did spray the PGR, plant growth regulator, and then the contractor will start cutting and trimming our basins on June 10th for water management. Future projects, the ones that are out there, we have Smart Scale, the 17 widening, Phase 2. That is looking like PE authorization in late '28 with a plan advertisement in early 2033. We also have some JRB work that's tied to the county for beam replacement, fender system replacement, some drive motor replacements, and also south tower access improvements. And then for bridges, in July of '28, we're looking at 2 bridges. One of them's a bridge, one of them's a structure, but it's over Great Swamp, Route 600 over Great Swamp replacement, and then 626 Mill Swamp Road at Stallings Creek. And I am in the process of developing a full depth patching contract for the residency. We are identifying areas, and when I say full depth, is really getting down, replacing sub-base and putting a patch over top of new sub-base areas that seem to either be pumping, pushing, or just unraveling. So, and I hope to have that to add and under contract this summer. So they're in the process of doing that now. County safety funds, currently there is $43,932 remaining in Alawite County. We plan to use the remaining of those funds for these ditching and shoulder work repairs that we're doing on 620. I do have another fund that I'm using. It's fairly expensive because we're using a lot of contract work out there as well. It's sort of a hybrid between contract work and state work. But I do have another ditching fund that I'm able to use. It's outside of our 604 maintenance money for the work out there as well. Traffic studies, the only one, the latest one I found, and it was just outside of the quarter, was the Trump Town Road and Foursquare Road intersection review. That recommended action to install speed limit 45 signs on Foursquare Road. This has already been completed. But that was the last completed study I saw in the queue. There are other studies in the queue, I just have not received them yet. Land use, this kind of gets out, well, it's 3 months, but instead of the January to March, this is actually February 15th to May 15th, so a little quicker, a little closer to the date that we're giving the presentation. But we've reviewed in that 3-month period 27 plats or plans for the county. We've issued 60 land use permits, and we've closed 250 land use permits in those 3 months period. We have not brought in any additions or abandoned any roads in that time period in the county. Subdivision construction that we're in the midst of watching or checking or inspecting is South Harbor and Bartlett Estates. In your packet, I enclosed some of the work that we are doing, some photos on 620. There's 2 things that we're doing out there. We are doing ditching, and then we're doing shoulder repairs. Shoulders are twofold. Some of the shoulders are high, which keeps the water on the pavement. We are clipping or pulling those shoulders. But we also have areas that are low shoulders, which is what I identified in your thing, where it just drops off the edge of pavement. With that, if you'll see, we're dropping the ditches back, still within our right-of-way, and trying to build out as much shoulder to provide for the motorists that use 620, to give them a little more, we call it era, just in case, just a little bit more to make it a little safer. Couple things we did get a couple work orders. One of them was Cedar Grove. Did go out and look at that. That was, I think, something that's been outstanding for a while. We do have plans to have that patched, milled and patched by mid-June. But we're also looking at that road for maybe possible inclusion into our full depth, because there are some areas that are pushing out there. That means that there are some sub-base issues. The other one that we looked at was Lawns Neck Road. Might be Lawns Neck Drive, I'm not exactly sure. But that also has been brought into the system fairly soon. Fairly, 4 years ago, it was brought into the state system. And it is falling to pieces. There had been some patching and I think road seal before we actually brought it into the system. But there's some places that are degraded, that is pumping and just unraveling. We are going to get out there and patch those just to make sure that the road is safe to travel. And we'll also look at that as maybe possible areas that we include into our full depth patching contract. I will say that we are in the process of, we just hired a maintenance supervisor at the Windsor area headquarters, and we are in our second round of advertisement to interview a superintendent at the Smithfield area headquarters. Other than that, we're pretty good staffed around the area. And that concludes my report. I'll be glad to take any comments or questions from the board at this time.
Okay. Mr. Akery, you got anything?
Well, thank you very much for the report. Your thoroughness, ability to see what you are presenting, this is awesome. Thank you very much. I'm familiar with some areas that you've worked previously, that I'm not really surprised because your reputation precedes you. Most of the items I had on my list you've checked off, and I appreciate both our staff kind of passing it on, and y'all for going through and checking on things like Cedar Grove Road. We had heard some of that on some preliminary discussions on a project that was right there in that area, but I thought it was good. Just really appreciate the update. Couple of items, couple of things that I'm curious about. So at the Bartlett intersection, that intersection, of course, was improved not too many years ago. It's unique now in the fact that it's not just ditches and those kind of things. There is curb and gutter. I guess that's the right way to put it. But
Correct.
The point is, I don't know of anywhere in Carrollton that would have needed cleaning in the past, as opposed to just chop it up, mow it, and see it in a few months. Is there any plan on trying to? I mean, it looks really bad, and it's a shame because the infrastructure looks nice underneath, but you got people that have thrown out trash. You got stuff growing up through the cracks. Is there a maintenance plan of some sort?
So let's do
to
this.
address
Let's let the contractors go through and pick up all the trash
Right.
on the right of way, and then we'll reassess it. If it needs to be swept and cleaned, cut back the girders, we'll do that.
Okay.
But let's the mowers
You're
get through first.
the expert.
Yeah,
You're the
let
expert.
the
Like I
mowers-
said, I've seen some of your other work, so.
Let them get through first, and then we'll evaluate it. And it probably needs to be swept. That's one of the, and a couple contracts that we're working on, and one of those is contract sweeping. We do have 2 sweepers in the residency, but that covers 4 counties. We need a sweeping contract so we can call on those as we need it or do more at once. And a ditching contract is something else that we're working on getting also for the counties. Not that we can't ditch, but if I can ditch 2 times, I can ditch twice as fast if I have both.
I saw you
resources.
guys out on Longview, and that's pretty impressive, the work that they've gotten done out there. So, and it's interesting because over the years, I think this board has grown to understand the challenges that y'all have with contractors and trying to get everything cut. Whether it's the weather or whether it's the contractors or both, it kind of varies. So some people are like, what are you talking about? You're talking about cleaning up an intersection. What about getting the shoulders cut? So y'all are always working on that.
That is in the, so actually being that there's only 3 times, you'll see that schedule. I kind of set that schedule based on, July 4th and trying to make sure by Labor Day. And then obviously make sure the county's cleaned up and looks neat as we roll into fall, winter time. So that's sort of how I set those schedules. I have given this to our contractors. We had a kickoff meeting with our contractors as well, and I set some expectations. We're having some growing pains with that, and this is new to us as well because VDOT, as of 2 years ago, did their own mowing. So we contract out more and more on the secondary system. We're contracting out more and more. So we're having some growing pains with that, but I think we got a good path forward with this, and the contractors seem to be more agreeable to some of the things that we expect.
A question that you may be able to answer, and Nike Park was resurfaced or repaved a few months ago, and it had a different appearing surface than what people were used to seeing.
It's-
Could you explain?
It's
what the difference-
resurfaced. It's
Okay.
not asphalt pavement, it's a
Okay.
latex.
Okay.
So what a latex does is when you have pretty good pavement underneath of it, you know, it's not cracked up, major cracks, those type of things. So what you want to do is you want to extend the life of the pavement that's there. You can either use a slurry seal, which is a thinner mix, or a latex, which is a thicker mix. It goes down sort of on a squeegee type, but it looks like new asphalt. But it comes out rough. You know, it's got a coarse, some friction coating to
Right.
it. It smooths out with use. So you'll get these complaints after you do it that it feels weird when I'm riding my bike, or it grips my shoes when I'm walking down the road. Give it some time. Those little fines will work their way off to the side, but it does get smoother in time. Or you hear people say, well, it's louder now that I'm on it. Give it a little time. It settles out.
I appreciate you answering that question. That was, I think some people had that question. I knew I did. And I appreciate the extra traction of being a motorcycle rider. So, the debris, and this may not fall in your purview, but I mean, it's in the right of way. So there was some debris right there on Route 17 in Kings Cove Way.
Okay.
From an automobile accident or a rollover truck, et cetera. And I saw social media, you gotta love social media, right? That I guess a group of individuals came out and are volunteering their time to kind of pick it up. And unfortunately, some of us know that the hazards of working on the side of the road, even in the best of intentions, how many people get killed just trying to do what they're supposed to do. But anyway, that debris that was there, would that have been,
So
how did that happen?
So there was a tractor trailer accident before I was here, but
Right.
I think it was 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, something like that. It's sort of in the marsh. It's a trucking company out of the Midwest. I had a meeting with Don and Jamie, and they brought that to my attention as well. I called the company. We had a report from where we responded to do traffic control and build the company for, accounts receivables for that. I talked to them about the material left out there. Their recovery person has contacted me, so they're scheduled to go out there and get the remainder of it. I don't know how it was left out there that long. Typically, it's up to the company retrieving the vehicle, the materials, that type of thing. I'm not exactly sure how it got left out there for that long, but I did contact them. The recovery company has contacted me. They're putting their lane stuff in L-cams. They've seemed reputable. They have worked on highways before, so it should be a safe operation, and it should be thorough.
So it might be safe to say, not to pass the buck, but just because it's a team effort, that when those incidents occur, it's law enforcement's obligation, most likely state police, to make sure that everything's cleaned up by the recovery company or whatever. I mean, they usually sub it out if they can't physically do it.
I mean, we look at the right-of-way, but our right-of-way stops pretty much at the ditch line. This had kind of gone out past, spilled out into the marshy area, I would call it. But typically, in most debris accidents, and we just had one the other day on 258 with shingle truck, or trailer with shingles, and typically either the company will come out and do it right then, or the recovery, like the wrecker service or something like that, will do a recovery effort to recover the load. Sometimes if it's off the right of way and trying to open the road, timing, all that kind of stuff, it's easier and safer to come back later. I don't know why it took 6 months.
Okay. So another, I don't know if Empire Metal on Brewers Neck Boulevard, they're, I guess, they're a recyclable type company. It used to be a junkyard. I don't know exactly, but I think it's a recyclable company now. So based on their driveway, it appears, they track mud out onto Brewers Neck, dirt and mud, to the point of whether you're in a car or particularly on a motorcycle, if there's any moisture on the road at all, it's slick. I mean, so I know that years ago when it was under Empire, it's near Sweet Haven Church. It's used to be, it's not Carrollton Auto. What was that up there? 258 Auto is out used to be out on the front, but it's not their property. But at any rate, you can see the massive buildup of dirt and all on the road. I know a number of years ago when it was another owner, state police used to come out and basically shut down traffic until they got the place cleared. But if y'all could, whoever, staff can.
We have a permit section, anything that, those type of entrances are all permitted entrances, whether commercial, whether residential. So we do have some leverage through the Virginia code to address mud on
Because
the
if they
road.
put large gravel at the end, it would knock some of the mud off. But
Well,
anyway, I'm
Yeah.
getting in an area that I don't know anything about.
but I'll bring it up to them, have them reach out to them.
Okay, last but not least, because y'all are really good about this, but it's just getting to that time at end of Route 10 and Oliver Drive. It's particularly in a small vehicle, I'm gonna call it grass, is really tall, so you can't see going back towards
Sight
Suffolk.
distance, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think I had that in here, that we also are cutting sight distance as well. Even though we are doing our contracting mowing, we have our boom axes, our tractors that go out and do the intersections to assist with sight distance.
Gotcha. Thank you,
Where
sir.
was that at? What was that intersection?
Oliver and Route 10, Oliver and Ben's Church Boulevard.
Okay.
You done, Joe?
That's all. Thank you,
Shelley?
sir.
Thank you.
I have a couple of places, mainly for safety. It's intersection of Burdette Road and 258. If you're coming off of Burdette Road onto 258, if there's anything bigger than a car, by the time you get out, you won't see anything till you're on the road.
Okay.
I know the lady that owns the piece of property, but it looks like it's just grown over the period of 4 or 5 years since it's been cut back.
So let me ask this.
Okay.
Is it in the right, do you think it's in the right, I mean, I can have it surveyed or
Well,
look at the
it's-
plats to
it's-
see, but
it's
a
kinda
lot
like
of times our right of ways are so small that you
Well,
say, well, it's sight distance, but it's really vegetation outside of our right of way.
Where it's kind of, it's like twofold. You got a layer of trees, and then there's a section, then there's another layer of smaller trees. And that's the ones that
Okay,
I think have,
we'll look at it.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
The other one is on West Blackwater Road, at the intersection of River Run Trail and West Blackwater. When people are coming out of Southampton County, coming into Isle of Wight, they're running about 75 miles an hour. And if anybody's coming down West Blackwater, gonna make a left on River Run, you can't see them. It's a group of trees, it's kind of a low area through there, it's a swamp in there that goes into the Blackwater River. It's about, I'd say about a quarter of a mile from when you get to the Blackwater River,
Okay,
the Southampton, Isle of Wight County line.
okay. Can't
And
see while
it-
making a
They
left.
have been down and cut back in the tree layer, which opens it up where you can see through, which makes it a whole lot better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, we're in
Yeah.
springtime, so the vegetation's
Oh,
filling
yeah,
back
yeah.
out again, so that's.
During the wintertime, it's good.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Gardner?
Yeah, you answered the question on Nike Park Road nicely, and also it was a very thorough report. I have one group of concerned citizens in Eagle Harbor, and they have a major complaint about Northgate Road. It's right there at Nest 17 and Carrollton, and their
Isn't there a
complaint,
project there?
I'm sorry.
Isn't there a project there, currently Profit project going on?
Yeah, I think there's,
Northgate?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
there's a project there. But prior to that, a lot of commercial vehicles park a little bit too close to the intersection, and it creates a safety visual problem, and they've complained about near misses where, these big trucks just park too close to the corner, and they're usually parked a little bit further out, so that it's a hard turn to see around. So what they were wondering, first they wanted an ordinance, but I think, in addition to, Bobby's checking on that now, but is it possible to add like some crosswalks on Northgate at intersections so that there would be setbacks for vehicles to have some sort of visual that they won't be parking a crosswalk?
I'm not familiar with the intersection, so, but
Okay.
let me just, some stuff.
I understand, I don't mean to
stuff that
cut you
I've done.
off.
So,
But
crosswalks are great, and we promote crosswalks, but things have to be present to allow crosswalks. Like, there has to be ADA ramps, there has to be some sort of sidewalk, some way
And I
for
think
them
there are
to-
sidewalks.
Okay, and I'm not exactly sure.
I
So-
know, without knowing what's going on there, but there are sidewalks.
But if that is something that the county is interested in looking at, I love doing crosswalks. So I'll have our traffic engineers take a look at it and see. There may be some items that need to be upgraded.
Right.
There may be some truncated domes, some ADA ramps that have to be done. I'll have to check sight distance, because you were talking about that. So you'll have to have some sort of sight distance coming off of, I guess this would be Northgate, is that right?
Right, Northgate.
So Northgate. So, they will look at all of that in the study to see if a crosswalk would be warranted or recommended for that situation. And then once we get that, and it is recommended, typically I work with the county to figure out the best funding
Great.
source.
Thank you.
Got one more thing. And it can be changed, or it could, I don't know. The light at 258 and 58 Business.
258 and 58, up towards IP?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The business, where it comes to the business part of 58. When they put that light in, it works fine, everything works good. What I don't know is, why don't they have a flashing caution light turn to the left and to the right? And the reason I'm asking that is, that is not heavily trafficked road
And that's
like
why.
it used to be.
And that's why. So when they're called FYA, flashing
Okay.
yellow arrows. It's, you have permissive lefts,
Right.
so you can go when no one else is going. It's sort of new to Virginia
Yeah.
over the past 4 years or so. So when we first started this, we decided, how are we going to look at intersections to determine where to install? Because we can't do every intersection
Right.
with FYAs.
Yeah.
So typically where we put them are the more heavily traveled,
Okay.
good sight distance, those type of areas where we get the most benefit for having FYAs to try to reduce congestion, try to reduce queuing.
Yeah.
We're not probably getting a lot of queuing or other than when waiting for the cycle to turn to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
green.
That's it.
So that's probably why that intersection
I
was
was
not
trying
looked.
to save gas.
Yeah, but that intersection, probably isn't, I'm not saying it'll never have it.
Yeah.
But it's why it wasn't in the first
Okay. Well, appreciate
review
that.
of
Yeah.
FYAs.
I understand that.
And we looked at every intersection, and I was actually part of the first
Mm-hmm.
review, especially being on the peninsula, a little higher traffic
Yeah.
volumes. And that was the sort of criteria of how we determined where to put them, where to look at.
Now I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes, sir. First, I wanted to say welcome and thank you for your authority and your level of detail in the report. Since I've been on the Board of Supervisors, this is the most comprehensive review of ticketing and resolution of issues in Isle of Wight County that I've received. So again, that doesn't go unnoticed. Really appreciate the level of detail. I wanted to call to your attention the Champion Swamp sign has a bullet hole in it. I see that you all do sign repairs, so that has been for some time, but there is a bullet hole in the nice new Champion Swamp sign that was erected as the work was done.
What road
at
was that on?
that, pass.
What's the name of the
There's
sign?
Old
What-
Champion Swamp.
What road?
What road is it on?
It's on Uzzles Church.
In church.
Lynn?
Uzzles Church.
Uzzles.
You all had a
Uzzles Church.
big project where you replaced
Uzzles
the
Church.
bridge
Okay,
there.
that's what I needed. All right, that's what I needed. Thank you.
It's on Uzzles Church, yeah.
Okay.
Also, just north of Bob White on Uzzles Church, I know that I've gotten complaints from farmers. You know, we're a huge agricultural community, and there is an outlet that goes into several fields where there needs to be pavement shaping and grading from when a school bus used to go in that area. There's a big drop off that's causing some problems with the equipment going into those fields. That needs, again, just unpaved road grading and shaping. That again is just north of Bob White on Uzzles Church as well.
Okay.
And
Okay,
then
thank you.
throughout the summer, I know you've given a comprehensive report of your plans for mowing and trimming, et cetera. But I would just urge you to let the board know, what your plans are for ditch cleanup and weed control, et cetera. Some of our rural roadways that farmers, traverse, et cetera. Orbit Road, Five Forks, Uzzle Church, Bob White, some of those more rural roadways. What's the plan for weed control as the farmers have put their crops in the ground? Hopefully it rains this weekend and they start to come up. But what's the mitigation efforts that are done on those secondary roads?
So typically, I mean, our secondary roads, our only mitigation is to mow and trim. So when I say mow and trim is either bush hog the roadway shoulder grass, or sometimes we use it's called a boom axe. It's on an arm that gets on the backside. But typically, we're not going to spray any type of defoliant or anything that would kill grass. Typically, grass to us is a good thing because it provides erosion and sediment control. So sometimes the farmers, when they are, getting ready to plant, their cover crops, and it'll get over into the roadway, and it looks like we've sprayed, but that's not us. We don't spray roadside vegetation. We just cut it, and we actually controlled vegetation. Like I said, is a positive to us because it helps from eroding shoulders, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed this rain that we're going to hopefully get in the next few days doesn't erode those shoulders on 620 that we just put in. But we are having them hydro-seeded, which seems to help with getting grass started. I can't say that it's going to grow as great as I want it to, but we are hydro-seeding it, trying to get it started.
I appreciate you've demonstrated the seriousness with which you all take, the ticketing system, et cetera, and addressing those. Can you just remind the citizens again how they can submit a ticket as they see things?
Sure. So there's two ways. You can you can just Google VDOT Customer Service Center, and there is a way to do it online, or you can call I think it's 866-4-ROADS, and the operator will come on, and you can also issue a work order for VDOT maintenance, traffic signal. It doesn't really matter, but anything VDOT related. And our customer service will create a work order for you, and then they will determine, it pretty much all goes to my office, and then we send it out where it needs to, whether it's traffic engineering, whether it's maintenance, whether it's land use, those type of things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. I got a couple of concerns. You said that you were scheduling the trimming of the roadway for the month of July, for 4th of July weekend, make sure the county is looking good. But my concern is that on the rural roads where the school buses travel, the grass is tall, snakes are crawling now, and we need to have that grass cut to keep our kids safe that's boarding the buses.
So the secondary cycle's already started.
Yeah, mine was cut today.
Okay, but in Rushmere, I don't think nothing been cut out and.
It just started. It just
Okay.
Yeah.
started. But I will say.
What I'm saying is, should we bump the schedule up because you
So I
started
don't
the day
think
in
we
school?
get, I don't think we get as much bang for our buck because the grass really, I mean, a lot of the grass isn't 12 inches tall that I'm looking at now. There are some areas where it has gotten up, but I don't think we get as much for our money because what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go cut it and then it's gonna still only get 3 cuts. So it's gonna be such a long time between that and the next one that the grass is gonna be tall again. So I would prefer.
My point is the safety of the kids. That's what I'm looking at. School will be out. We cut the grass, maybe next week or whatever. Then 2 weeks, school is out. So to me, it don't matter whether you cut the grass so much on the side. But my point is I like to have the roadway safe so the kids, when they walk across the street, they don't have to worry about a snake laying up in tall grass.
Okay.
I mean,
We can discuss it. We can
Okay.
discuss it. I'll be glad to discuss it with you. I just think it would be, a little bit early because, and I understand there's areas of tall grass, but I think countywide, I think you're gonna find that, those site distance issues, the other safety issues, not necessarily the snakes and stuff, but the other safety issues are gonna be more prevalent if you cut it early. That's just my thoughts. But I'd be glad to talk with you.
Okay, we'll talk, but, at the intersection of Old Stage Highway and, Fort Hugo, right there when you make that right turn in there, it's a pothole over to the right.
Okay,
We'll need to
shoulder
look at
pothole on Fort
It's
Hugo,
right, it's right there at the intersection.
Fort Hugo and Old Stage. It'll be done tomorrow.
And also, I know in Rushmere, we had Owens Lane, we had Charles Beach Road, I think Burroughs Bay Road, and I don't know if Moonlight Road was inclusive or not, but you all put some type of slurry mix down, supposed to extend the life of the asphalt.
Okay.
Well, that's not working too well, not on those roads.
What roads was this again?
Owens Lane, Fort Hugo, Burroughs Bay, and Charles Beach.
Okay.
If you could come and just look at those roads and reevaluate them.
Like I said, I didn't have anything to do with prior schedules, but I will be controlling the ones going forward.
Right.
But, it could be a situation where it's sub-base issue. I was talking about we're doing a full depth, patching. There may be some areas that qualify for that as well. I have noticed with the heavier traffic, some of the roads that have not truly been constructed. They kind of started as a 14-foot road. They've been pushed out to maybe 16 to 18 at the most. Very limited shoulders, not a lateral support. And then you get, heavier traffic, heavier class traffic. And they seem to be, and it shows just going through secondary, they take a beating.
Yeah, and you'll see a lot of that drop-offs on Burroughs Bay and Moonlight Road, where the asphalt has actually broken away from the main.
And a lot of that is the traffic, the lot wider than the lane, so they're pushing on the shoulder, and then you lose that lateral support, and then it just starts breaking off.
Okay.
Yep.
And one last question.
Let me go back to that to make sure I get those roads again.
Okay.
There was 4 of them you gave me.
Owens Lane, Owens,
I got that.
Charles Beach,
Okay,
Burroughs Bay,
got that one.
Fort Hugo.
Fort Hugo. Okay, thank you.
I was trying to understand the rationale behind, I guess VDOT had contractors coming in cutting trees on the side of the road. How did they decide what tree to cut? Because I'm
So
looking at.
Hypothetically, I can tell you, I don't know about what trees were cut and stuff of that nature, but I can tell you how we determine roadside trees. Typically, if a tree is damaged or has disease in the right-of-way, we'll put it on a schedule to have it removed. Areas for site distance, we try to remove trees that are in the right-of-way that do site distance issues. We also look at not removing trees, but trimming trees for areas that are encroaching the pavements for, 18, 20 foot, anything lower than that. And then also, we look at daylighting some of our roads, which help during winter months, those type of things, being able to get some sun on those colder areas. We can't do them all, because there's more, our roads are littered with trees, which I love. I mean, I really don't like cutting trees, because I think they're pretty when you ride down the road. But at the same time, our tree cutting is really decided on those things: encroachment, diseased or dead, or too much overhang.
Yeah, I was wondering, did VDOT actually go and,
We
Mark the trees over.
actually have certified arborists on staff that go
Okay.
out and look at those things, yes.
okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to make sure we're clear, that phone number for VDOT is 1-800
Is it okay?
367-7623. So it's 1-800-4-ROAD.
So, and I can honestly say I've never called him.
All right, well, we appreciate all the information, and we thank you, be looking for you in another quarter.
Bring Jamie for the,
Yeah,
6 years.
while he's here, if we could do the 6-year plan.
Okay,
Appreciate
Mr. Oliver?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Along with that 1-800 number, we would also say that people are welcome to call the Transportation Department if they want any help submitting it. And I would also encourage people, if they have their cell phone out while they're out there and they go onto VDOT's website on their cell phone, when they want to submit, VDOT actually has a GPS location that connects with your phone, and it'll actually do the location for you when you're submitting your claim if you happen to be in your car and be in that spot right there. Our staff uses that a lot when they're out in the field trying to report things. So that's a nice feature.
also take pictures and
Yeah, you can take pictures and send it in so they don't miss what it is. And it's very nice if the citizens do it for themselves, because VDOT will actually respond directly to them, particularly if you give them your cell phone number. They'll respond by text as they resolve your work order for you, so you know exactly what's happening to it. It's become a very usable system. So, but that's not what I'm up here for, so. This year, we're talking about the annual board recommendation of the secondary 6-year plan. As usual, the secondary 6-year plan focuses specifically on our secondary funding, not on any of our primaries or our arterials. This year, we are using the Virginia Code to not hold a public hearing, specifically for the reason that we are not receiving $100,000 or more in new money, and we are not adding any new projects. Our funding allocations this year actually reduced a little bit by approximately $7,000 a year. So we have less than $90,000 allocation per year in the plan. Our projects are all staying the same. Our priorities are all staying the same. And our upcoming projects in the 6-year plan are Strawberry Plains Road and Mogarts Beach West. The information that you'll find in your package is the resolution to adopt the plan that's in your package as presented, and also a resolution to designate Strawberry Plains as a rural rustic. We believe, based on board minutes, that this was done previously in 2010. However, we're not finding the actual resolution documentation, so we just want to make sure that all of our paperwork is up to par for VDOT so that the CTB will accept it when we take it forward.
Okay. All right, any question? Get a motion for the,
Yes, and actually, there are 2 separate resolutions that need to be adopted.
okay? Board member?
I make
Oh,
the
we just-
motion.
Go ahead, Joel.
It's a resolution, right?
Yes, under item 16B, I believe it is in your agenda.
Correct, and it would be a resolution for the 6-year plan and a resolution to designate Strawberry Plains.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to, I guess we can do them separately, to adopt the 6-year improvement plan for secondary roads.
Madam?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes.
And then you needed the other one, which is for Strawberry Plains.
To designate
The rustic.
Strawberry Plains, yes.
I'll make that motion also.
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll move ahead with public hearings. Item A,
evening, board members. My name is Amy Ring. I'm the county's Community Development Director. Your first public hearing item tonight is application REZN 2412 for the Bridgers Quarter Conditional General Commercial Zoning Request. Property is located about 1,000 feet south of the intersection of Turner Drive and Route 10, directly across the street from the proposed Sweetgrass development, just along the northern property line with the Oaks Veterinary Clinic. It is zoned Rural Agriculture Conservation, and it is in Election District 3. The request is for a zoning map change from the RAC zoning district to conditional general commercial in order to develop 6 commercial parcels. This is the location map for the property, as I was saying, just to the south of the intersection of Turner Drive and Route 10, and just to the north or west of Red Oaks Mobile Home, and the Oaks Veterinary Clinic is right there. It is immediately adjacent to other properties owned RAC, as well as to the Smithfield High School campus, and directly across the street from other properties zoned RAC that has recently been rezoned for the Sweetgrass development into planned development mixed use. And you'll see this more clearly here on the recommended future land use map. And this is the future recommended land uses according to the county's adopted comprehensive plan, what the community's vision for what uses should go where. And as you see, the property that's outlined with the label on it is designated future business and employment. The adjacent again to the school and across the street from planned development mixed use, as well as suburban residential directly to the south. The property size is 17.5 acres. It is a portion of the larger former Yeoman Farm. It's on tax parcel number 3201009, which is split in two by Route 10. On the east side will be the Sweetgrass development, and this is on the remainder directly across the street from that. It is currently vacant and historically been used as agricultural, and it is generally flat with a sandy permeable soil type. It's in agriculture now, and this is basically a view from Route 10 taken from the Oaks Veterinary Clinic, looking at the current agricultural field that's there now. And you can see the school in the background. And this is taken, again, a view of the site from Turner Road. The concept plan that I'm going to show in a minute shows 6 commercial outparcels with approximately 175,000 square feet, with a primary interest on Route 10 and a second entrance on Turner Drive. The preliminary mix of tenants proposed by the applicants include a self-storage facility, a medical office building, retail, and fast food restaurants. There's no proposed restrictions on the general commercial uses in the proffer statement. The applicant proposes to develop a climate-controlled self-storage building as phase 1 of the project, with the remainder included in phase 2 to be developed over time as market conditions allow. The proffered conditions, which are attached to your staff report, include conformance with the concept plan, a stub out to both Smithfield High School and Oaks Veterinary Clinic in order to provide future access if it's desired. There's a cash contribution of $200,000 towards the Turner Drive improvement project, a construction of a longer northbound turn lane on Route 10 into the project site, and phase 1 archaeological study with further studies as needed. This is a map showing the concept plan here. Again, this is Smithfield High School along the bottom half of the slide. The proposed roundabout project is here to the left of the slide. This shows the secondary entrance from Turner Drive into the rear of the site. And the primary entrance will be on Route 10. It will share a future traffic signal with the Sweetgrass development across the street. The proposed indoor climate-controlled storage facility, that's phase 1, is here to the rear of the site, as well as other future retail and medical office buildings being developed at a later date. This is an example of what a commercial building could look like based on our current Newport Development Service Overlay District requirements as well as their proffered design criteria. Again, just another example of what the proposed self-storage facility could look like. This is an inline retail shopping center that could be developed on the site. And the transportation analysis, when the staff looked at it, included 7,400 new vehicle trips projected, with 474 of those trips occurring in the morning peak hour and 359 occurring in the afternoon evening peak hour. Now, the developer applicants have proposed some mitigation road improvements to handle the traffic, and it includes to lengthen the westbound left turn lane into the project site from northbound Route 10, construct a westbound right turn lane into the main entrance if you're going south on Route 10, and within 30 months of the issuance of construction drawing approval, land disturbance permit, VDOT, land use permit, and encroachment agreement, they'll construct Road A, providing stubbed access at the intersection to the adjacent parcels. Within 30 months of the issuance of the construction drawing approval and VDOT permits, they will construct Road B to Turner Drive, and as each individual commercial parcel is developed, a TIA shall be prepared to determine the impacts of the commercial site. And the developer shall contribute to the county $200,000 payable and conditioned upon advertisement of the submittal request, which is our Turner Drive project, and that's already been done, if I understand. We also looked at the potential impacts for schools, parks and recreation, and utilities, and there are no projected impacts to school capacity because, again, it's a non-residential development. The proposed development would provide access to the future traffic light on Route 10, which would help alleviate traffic congestion on Turner Drive for future school expansion. Although the proposed development does not generate any additional residential demand, they are proposing extending the multi-purpose trail on Route 10. And the site will also be served by public water and sewer, and the review of utility lines and necessary structures will happen at site plan submittal. The Sheriff's Office and Public Fire and Rescue have both said that they could handle the additional needs generated by the development. The Sheriff's Office did express some concern with the continuing increase in the traffic growth in that particular area, but that the service needs generated by the additional non-residential development would be something they could handle currently. We also looked at the environmental and historical resources impacts for the site, and fortunately for this site, there are no special wetlands or other environmentally sensitive features. However, the overall soil type is sandy, and care should be taken with future development not to or to try and prevent any kind of groundwater migration of potential contaminants into the soil. And they have also proffered to do they did do a Phase 1A cultural resources assessment and found no resources of concern, and the County Historic Resources staff had no further concerns with their study. They also provided a fiscal impact analysis, and it showed the project would generate approximately $230,000 in new tax revenue annually once it's fully built out, and create a total of 91 full-time and part-time jobs. Commissioner of Revenue reviewed the study and had no concerns with the real estate tax projection assumptions. The future recommended land use designation, as I mentioned earlier, is business and employment, which consists of office space and commercial uses, and is best located on major transportation routes with access to public water and sewer. And this proposed project is in general conformance with that designation. We looked at the ability of the project to meet current general commercial zoning ordinance requirements. The proffered conditions do not offer any restrictions to otherwise permitted or conditional uses in the GC district. And the proposed square feet of commercial space is within the maximum floor area ratio of the 0.5 square feet of space per net developable area. And the concept plan appears to be able to meet all of our Newport Development Service overlay districts, as well as requirements, as well as minimum lot area, setbacks, and maximum height. And it has the ability to meet the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area ordinance requirements as well. So after we looked at all these different reports and did our own analysis, we came up with a list of strengths and weaknesses for the project. Strengths include that the proposed project is generally consistent with the future recommended land use designation. There is sufficient utility, public safety, and emergency medical service capacities to serve the additional service demands. The proffered conditions include road improvements to address traffic impacts. The concept plan is generally consistent with ordinance requirements. The project site does not have any environmentally sensitive areas. The project includes non-residential commercial development, which will generate employment opportunities and additional tax revenues. The project provides additional transportation access for adjacent property owners and extends the county's multi-purpose trail system. Weaknesses did include that the project includes additional self-storage, which based on other similar projects under construction nearby, it could be considered a saturation and multiplicity of the use type. However, the applicant did provide a market analysis in support of the ability of the market to support this facility. So based on the strengths that we found through our analysis, staff recommends approval of the application with the proffered conditions. The Planning Commission also voted to recommend approval 10-0 of the application with the proffered conditions at their March 24th, 2026 meeting. I'll be available following the public hearing, and the applicant is also here should you have any questions for them.
Okay, all right, thank you. So does the applicant wish to speak?
Good evening, Supervisors. My name is Adam Turner, 15206 Newtown Haven Lane, Carrollton. As Amy presented, that we're here to hopefully navigate through a rezoning of 17.5 acres from rural agriculture conservation to general commercial. I'd like to start by saying thank you for your time, and thank you to Amy for her work with us and navigating this process to bring it before you for review. I think Amy has done a good job of describing all the different attributes of the project. I'd like to add a few things. Some of the descriptors she just indicated of reason, adding on to the phasing, looking at the trips internally in the project, and the timing of how those kind of road contributions have came about as a process of this intergovernment, public-private dance we do. So from a phasing standpoint, I don't know if we can maybe bring the plan up, but one of the complexities that we were faced with in the process of navigating this was that with all these transportation complexities happening, one being the Sweetgrass project's installation of signalized intersection, as well as the state grant program, the revenue sharing program, are on both sides of our project's entrances. And so in the process of navigating this and trying to move the project forward to ultimately be able to install these roads that create, tie in there and create a secondary road network, that the only parcel, because of the point in time that Sweetgrass is at and the timing of the roundabout, with the existing conditions, we explored in coordination with VDOT and county staff what amount of traffic could be generated in the existing transportation configuration. And what we found through our different studies and everything is that the only use that was a low enough count to be able to move forward at this time was the storage facility. So I'd like to I guess my point being there is that while that is the first phase of the project, it's mainly driven from a transportation perspective, not from a market condition perspective, and that, we believe, as the other projects that have come forward with similar uses, that there is a suitable need for this product class, this rezoning type. And that kind of coincides there with this idea of, the timing of it, so that 30-month timing, where we kind of came up with that is based off of, in our coordination with Sweetgrass as well as with staff on the timing of what seems to be the likely pathway forward through this state program, is that should bring us in kind of the timeline of what they're estimating that the roundabout will be completed in. And part of the goal of this whole project and having a phase one, being able to move it forward before all of these improvements are completed, is that we'll have that road network in place ready to where the roundabout can tie in right there to it, and it'll complete that secondary network that creates alleviation where if Turner were to get backed up from the school traffic or whatever reason, that there would be, auxiliary routing back through the back of the parcel, as you see there. And kind of to add on to that, and I don't want to overstep myself from a, engineering standpoint, but I will make the point to say that the 7,500 transportation trips, it's not to say that we're, bringing 7,500 new trips. It's that, and that part of the reality is that road will take some of the existing trips. There may be some new generated, but I just want to make sure that's clear because I know it's come up in the past. But, as Amy indicated, with being commercial product, and before I step any further, in that phase one with the storage, given that it's discussed as a weakness, that was one of the original uses that we identified when we first brought the project forward. Now we've had a number of, it's taken a while to get through these transportation complexities, and as time has gone and the other projects, as the similar uses have gotten approved, we have updated our studies. And in fact, that same third-party market analysis company performed similar studies for the other projects that were approved. And as those projects have come online, we've kept pace and added all those different projects into the analysis to ensure that there's sufficient capacity. And with the continuing, approval of the existing, as Amy indicated, the approval of the Sweetgrass project across from us, the Greenwood Homes project, the Promontory, all within a real short distance. The projects that are being approved now are servicing the existing demand capacity. And with new housing coming, it's very it seems clear that there will be an additional need for that as a service here in the community. We've also been in touch with the local administrators of the businesses, and by all accounts, their lease-up rates and everything are exceeding even their expectations. So we feel pretty confident in our, we're interested in investing that money and believe that there's a use there for that. With that said, we're hoping that the school access will be a benefit to the community, be it additional eastbound queuing that can help if school traffic does continue to escalate or become an issue in the future. It's a tax revenue generator. It's a chance to bring jobs to the community and ultimately bring goods and services to the community. So I think that more or less encompasses what I'd like to share, and I think maybe use the time here to let you guys ask any questions that you feel might be, might could answer. So.
Great, thank you. Public hearing is hereby declared open. Anyone willing to speak for or against? See none and hear none. Public hearing is hereby closed. Board members?
Just a quick question or two. That blue water, is that a pond or a water feature of some sort?
Yes, sir. So that will ultimately account for the area's stormwater retention. As Amy indicated, with the sandy soils, we have to have some soil, stormwater retention from a water treatment quality perspective, and ultimately at the current point, that will have to be fleshed out a bit as a part of how we, navigate our site plan design and civil engineering and everything. But yes, sir.
As featured, it looks pretty nice.
If it looks that nice, I'll be ecstatic.
Okay. Another question, the turnabout, is that going to be a double lane turnabout or single?
Well, I don't know if Jamie maybe, I believe a one single through lane, but that design is still kind of evolving.
Okay.
I don't know if Jamie can maybe add to that.
We are currently only at 30% design, so we can't say
Okay.
exactly because VDOT hasn't given us full feedback on the design. But right now, it's designed at a 2-lane width. However, those lanes actually bleed off into the side streets. So it's 1 lane going all the way around, but it's 2 lanes coming in on
I
either
just wasn't
side.
sure, if there's any further development will be impacting the turnabout.
As far
in the
as-
future. In the future, as that road has been developed, or is there other developments
So it would be
planned?
wide enough that it could function as a full 2 lanes,
Okay.
yes.
And just one last one, how long to completely building out your development?
Yeah, so that's a certain aspect to that, and that's kind of what I was describing, and where we're looking at it from a phased approach is, given that one of the comments that we had in the navigation of our application from VDOT is that until the sweetgrass signal is installed, that there's a bit of restriction there because that's our main access, really. The turn and drive is kind of the auxiliary providing interconnectivity. We're kind of hemmed in a bit by their project. So this lets us, by having that kind of phased approach, it lets us move forward with the road network. We'll have everything ready to go, stabilized, finished floors with all the utilities and everything stubbed. And once we get unlocked from that transportation perspective, we'll proceed. But at this point, we don't feel comfortable. I don't know that I could give you a good answer.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Hilly, anything?
So the road coming from where the turnabout is coming in, that road's gonna go all the way through and come back out to 10 eventually?
Yes, sir. So you see where it's grayed out there on the left?
Yep.
That basically is where the roundabout project is. That will connect all the way where it says Road B, all the way around the back and curl around out to a signalized intersection across from the Sweetgrass project.
Okay.
And then if you look what Amy referenced there with the school, possibility there'd be school access, there's kind of a grayed out stub there at the bottom where if the schools should decide that there'd be an auxiliary access to be able to utilize that second signalized intersection on the
You
eastbound
come back
movement.
up, straight through, back out to the, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Joe?
Only comment, some comments on this. Anytime there's a development, there's of course pushback from people in our county. Some that mention things about it changing the character of the county. Anybody that knew the Yeomans, particularly Billy Yeoman, to see it get developed, it does have some emotional attachments, but it's not my land. It was the Yeoman farm. So some things that I consider when looking at properties like this, first of all, does it meet with the comprehensive plan? And it does. It aligns with our comprehensive plan. It's got a commercial tax base, which diversifies our tax base. Particularly here recently, we've talked a lot about residential growth and the impacts of services that we have to provide and trying to afford to cover those. Again, these are just comments. I guess another comment that I have, and I get it that some of these subdivisions maybe come with some negative connotations, not necessarily this one, by the way, to some of the citizens in the county. But as a county goes, or maybe as developers, when appropriate, it would be nice if, like sweetgrass, I've lived here all my life, I don't know what a sweetgrass is. I've never heard of a sweetgrass in Smithfield, Carrollton, or anywhere that I'm familiar with in the northern end of the county. It would be nice if it had some relevance to these families. The Yeomans, they were part of us growing up in this community, and as these developments come up with these new trendy names, it doesn't serve to preserve our county heritage. I would point to, and it's a small thing to probably a lot of people, but it sure was nice when the crossings turned to Bartlett. Because anybody who grew up in Carrollton knows that's the Bartlett intersection. Most people that just moved here, they'd probably call it something else. But I just say that I think as a board, we don't take these things lightly. Those are some of the criteria that we look at. We also look at the fact that the Yeoman farm, the Yeomans own that land, and, who are people to tell them what to do with their property. Last but not least, and this really is just, again, a commentary when it comes to storage, and I think you did a real good job of explaining why that's what y'all are looking for on phase one. I find it interesting, and again, it's just a comment, interesting that when you look, particularly in the northern end of the county, essentially, almost all the ones that you see that are storage facilities are under the same name branding, which is interesting. I don't know if that's just me, but it's just very interesting that we don't have what seems like healthy competition by different companies that are offering that same service. I don't know anything about storage. I just know as a citizen driving around, when you see all of them, whether 24 something or another storage or something, they're all the same company. That doesn't make me feel real good, but I'm not into storage. So anyway, that was just my comments. To me, it fits all the criteria. Our planning commissioners approved it. I'm comfortable with it.
I'd maybe just respond to your comment about the naming. So where the naming came from was during when we were putting the project together, it was my understanding that the St. Luke's was doing when Joseph Bridger, the, member of the Virginia Assembly there that was assistant governor here in Isle of Wight, they actually had dug him up from St. Luke's there as part of an anthropological study for dietary investigation of different class types within the community. And so I felt that it was appropriate, given that they just dug a man up from his grave, that it might be good to just a mile down the road, let him have a chance to.
I mean, and that, I was kind of picking on Sweetgrass is what I
No, but
was
anyway,
doing. But the point is, I mean, that's really neat. If somebody says, where does the name come from? There's something to it. It's not just some company based out of Virginia Beach or somewhere up north that just plopped down a crossings and called it something, generic. So it's nice to have some meaning to the names.
It's got a meaning to it.
It does, particularly for people who've lived here all their lives.
Yeah.
So,
Good. Ms. Roundtree?
Yes, I do have several questions. I guess I'd like to ask Ms. Ring a few first. And sorry, there's no video, so I can't see the gallery, but, Ms. Ring, did the town of Smithfield return any comments since this project is so close to the town limits?
No, they didn't.
So no comments returned by the town of Smithfield?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Also, upon looking at the map, I remember that the parcel to the north side of this proposed development is left blank, and it's where the Wawa was going to go, right? So it was placed there, and there were a lot of assumptions made based on that, and I know that that's not happening now, but can you tell me, number one, if the BMP that's currently designed has the capacity to include the north parcel, even though it's not a part of these 6?
Yeah, Renee, I can maybe add some thoughts there. So as it's shown currently in the configuration, and like I said, it has to be vetted as a part of ultimately the civil design process, but where it's shown, that pond actually currently crosses over the parcel line in an attempt, as it's currently shown, and I know you can't see it, but it services the parcel that's adjacent to the Wawa that Frontier Development, the developer that was under contract with Wawa to build that, they also controlled that adjacent parcel. And in an effort to provide them access to that adjacent parcel, we had come up with kind of a shared stormwater proposal. Now, with that said, with staff and us have had a conversation about that in an effort to try to find a solution where we can, be efficient and expand the pond to maximize the utility of the area of the land there. That road, and then there again, you can't see it, but the intention there is that there'll be access provided to all the different parcels, and it needs to be a cross access along the parcel line. As it's shown right now, it kind of encroaches only into our parcel there. So we're hoping if we can kind of shift it around a little bit and expand the space we have for the stormwater, that yes, we're going to do the best we can to try to account for that area in the stormwater design, so that there's only one, outfall pipe coming across to the left, because we're on the high side of the ground over here on this side of the road. So the answer is yes, we're going to do the best we can to try to have a thoughtful, construction design that accounts for that.
So the best you can, or committed in a proffer, some way. I guess I would defer to Ms. Ring if that's a normal procedure to go ahead and outline that in the initial application.
Actually, the final stormwater design actually happens during the engineering phase of so when they'll come in with the preliminary subdivision plat, kind of showing basically the layout of the proposed development, the planned development, where, the lots will be laid out and the roads and general infrastructure. But when you get to the construction engineering plan phase, that's when you actually put pen to paper and really work out the math to make sure that all of your stormwater is being handled. And it's reviewed by DEQ and the County Utilities Division to make sure that all the stormwater runoff from this property is appropriately handled. They wouldn't be able to move forward with the development unless they have those approved stormwater management plans.
So you're confident that there's enough land that's there to handle the increased stormwater runoff for the intended use on the north parcel?
Yes.
Okay. And then, Ms. Ring, finally, regarding the $200,000 proffer,
Yes.
for the Turner Drive roundabout and intersection. What happens to the rest of the commitment that was made? We did that plan and we said, okay, this is going to be this kind of use, et cetera, and every developer would pitch in to make that workable. Does the $200,000 that is proffered here, does that include the amount that was committed to by the Wawa since they pulled out? I mean, I guess my direct question is the county left holding the bag to pay for the associated amount for the northern parcel that's not included in this plan?
So the future development, so when we went and looked at the allocation of what Bridger's Quarter is doing versus what's left, we kind of did basically, I'm looking at Jamie to help me out here, kind of like a 60-40 split. And what Bridger's Quarter has proposed is their portion of what was considered Turner Drive South in that master traffic impact analysis that we did. And the future developer for that, the remainder of the portion of Turner Drive South will then be responsible for the remaining portion of that cost. Did I explain that right?
Yeah.
And does Ms. Oliver recall what that amount is?
So we did not define it as specific amounts in the study because we did it as a complete land use block. So it comes down to when we divide the individual parcels up by uses, it can be determined at that time. So we did not specify whether it needed to be divided by traffic counts or whether it needed to be divided by land area, et cetera. We gave a value to the total block based on traffic volumes and impact to the intersection. So Amy and I looked at it, and whether you split it by traffic volumes or whether you split it by land use, it ends up still being approximately 60-40. And when you take the value of that block in total as we split the allocations, that 60-40 does end up at approximately 200,000, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, with that said, sounds like everybody might be on board. It's a pleasure. Oh, well, it's in my district, so I'll make the motion to
Make a motion.
approve the
Approve the
application
application.
that's presented.
Yep.
Madam?
Mr. Ely,
Yes.
Mr. Garner.
Yes.
Mr. Acree.
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree,
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
All right, item B.
Good evening, I'm Shawnee Beesink, the environmental planner, and we're here today to discuss exception 24-3. It's the Baker CBPA exception request. Some details about this property are the property owners are Jeffrey and Christina Baker. Their parcel number is 43A08059. It's 312 Lakeview Lane. This is for an after-effect exception under the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area Ordinance for an unauthorized retaining wall, patio, and shed that all lie within the 50-foot landward portion of the RPA. Some background: the lot was originally created in 1968. In 2009, there was a previous exception granted on this property for the house, and it was granted with conditions that no further encroachments for accessory structures, decks, or impervious coverage would be granted. The home was finally constructed between 2017 and 2018, and a pier was installed in 21 through 2022. In 2022, we had received an application for a retaining wall and patio with the extension of the driveway, and that was rejected for where it was located in the RPA. And then in 2024, we observed the structures such as the 100-foot retaining wall, 315-foot square foot patio, and a 210-foot square shed, totaling 625 square feet of new disturbance in the RPA without any permits. In 2025, we had a public meeting with the Planning Commission, and the item was tabled for us to work with the applicant. There were concerns about additional erosion on the rest of the property where there wasn't a retaining wall installed, and we also wanted to know was the retaining wall that was constructed considered sound. So over the course of the past year, we had building officials go out that work for the county, and the Bakers had dug up the footers, if I'm saying that wrong, I don't know structural engineering, but dug it up so that they could determine that the wall was built to code and was structurally sound. They opted out of further extending the wall to the rest of the property at this time. This is just a clip out of the 2009 Board of Supervisors meeting that had those conditions that I talked about. Number 2 is the most relevant one, which is that no additional encroachment for the accessory structures, decks, or impervious coverage, and that would be such as the patio and shed. So this is just an overview, far out view of the property. You come off Carrollton Boulevard down Cedar Grove, and then you turn on to Lakeview Lane. This is a zoomed in portion. The green color is going to be the approximate RPA buffer. The red line is going to be your flood zone. And this is a zoomed in property where we kind of drew where the structures are located. This is going to be kind of where the patio is. This is the retaining wall, and the shed is over here. This is a newer aerial that shows you where those kind of structures are. This is the site plan. Again, it's all in the landward portion. Here's the 50-foot RPA line, so seaward's this way, so it is in the landward portion of the RPA. These are the 2022 photos after the pier was installed. We were asked to come out there and look at the property for erosion control concerns that were installed. The house, between the house and the pier is maybe 10 to 15 feet. So it's relatively close to the rear of the house. And for the construction, when they installed the pier, they tore that kind of ground up with the grading and for the installation of that. And then the drainage coming from the house, originally the outlets just went straight out. It wasn't underground or anything. It just went straight out of right to where the pier was installed. So it was kind of washing out everything right there. And at that time, no vegetation was present because of the disturbance. This is just another view of the pier. This is looking down at the patio and then towards the shed. They did install some steps that then go down to the pier that you didn't see in the previous photos from 2022. And this is looking at the retaining wall going up, and then the larger picture is looking straight down at the retaining wall. This is the proposed landscaping. For that, it requires 2 landscaping units, which they did propose the correct mitigation for that. So there's 5 criteria for granting exception that the Planning Commission shall not recommend in favor of the applicant unless it meets. And number 1 is going to be the strict application of the ordinance would produce an undue hardship and would not confer upon the applicant any special privileges denied by the ordinance to other property owners in the CBPA areas. Surrounding properties have similar slopes to this property, which are vegetated and have no need for a retaining wall at this time. The previous 2009 exception, again, had conditions that prohibited any new encroachment. The staff denial of the project in 2022, and the applicant was notified of that and that there wasn't a need for an exception before he could install any of the items that were proposed. And the request does not constitute a hardship and would grant special privileges to the applicant if they were to remain. Number 2, the exception request is not based on conditions or circumstances that are self-created or self-imposed, and nor does arise any circumstances either permitted or non-conforming that are related to adjacent parcels. Again, staff informed the property owner of the previous limitations of the 2009 exception, as well as when we had met with him on site in 2022. Staff issued that rejection letter, which again they had received, which stated that they needed an exception, and the applicant failed to obtain any of the permits before installation. This is a self-created hardship or circumstance. Number 3, the exception request is the minimum necessary to afford relief. Shed and patios are considered accessory structures in the CBPA ordinance, and they are not permitted without an exception, and these structures are not needed for the principal use of the property, which is for residential use. It doesn't prohibit them from using the property as its intended purpose. No past requests from surrounding lots have asked for erosion control projects or retaining walls. Hardened shorelines or retaining walls are not recommended due to the low wave action in that area. It's not needed in that area when you look at advisory sites that we have, and other erosion control measures were offered in 2022. The retaining wall, shed, and patio exceed the minimum necessary to afford relief for this property. Number 4, the exception request would be in harmony with the purpose and intent of this ordinance and would not otherwise be detrimental to public welfare or water quality. The placement of these items do not meet the purpose and intent of this ordinance, which is to safeguard the water quality through the protection of either existing buffers or establishing those buffers where they are needed, and all the above items are within the 50-foot portion of landward portion of the RPA. Number 5 is the reasonable and appropriate conditions are imposed which prevent the exception request from causing a degradation in water quality. If this exception is approved, we recommend that the following conditions be imposed and that the applicant would be required to install the mitigation as proposed, which is the minimum requirement that does meet the regulations of the DEQ manual, and the shed and patio be removed. And again, that no further exceptions be granted. Sorry. Staff recommends the strength would be that it does meet the mitigation, as I suppose. The next bullet, unfortunately, it bumped up a little bit. That should be a weakness. The placement of the retaining wall, the patio, and the shed do not meet the purpose and intent of the ordinance, which is to safeguard the water quality. And the applicant's request does not meet the 5 criteria for granting exceptions. All the encroachments were added without prior permits and after receiving previous denial for those items, and also that these encroachments violate the conditions that were imposed in 2009 that were granted with the exception for the house. Accessory structures such as the patio and shed are not permitted anywhere in the 100-foot RPA buffer. The wall and fill are not needed for stabilization, as surrounding lots have similar slopes. And the shed is on the reserve drain field or reserve drain field spot. So if that is ever needed, the shed would prohibit that land from being used where it is now. And again, after the past year we had talked about the homeowner wanted to extend the wall. He has opted out of doing that, so the other half of the property is unprotected. So where the wall stops, the other half is still suffering from the runoff that can occur. Recommendations based on the above findings, staff recommends denial of the exception request. If the exception is approved, staff recommends the following conditions. Again, same things I just stated, that the landscaping be planted as proposed, the shed and patio be removed. If the shed is to remain, that it needs to find a new location off of that reserve drain field or another reserve drain field location be allocated, and no further exceptions be granted. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the exception by a vote of 10-0 on March 24th of this year with the required mitigation and to allow the wall, shed, and patio to remain with the ability to relocate the shed if needed, if the reserve drain field is required.
Is the property owner?
Good evening, sir. Board, thank you for your time this evening. As Shawnee said, that's the same brief she presented twice now to the Planning Commission. I think we worked through it. There is some mitigating circumstances going back to 2022 in that I was stationed overseas in Bahrain. And I was dealing with the contractor who was trying to give me sound recommendations. I made them based on the decision, or based on his recommendations and the severe erosion we were experiencing behind our house and continue to experience. I've had Shawnee out to the house twice now, as well as excuse me, Mr. Mark Bromholler, to give us some ideas on how to mitigate. We can never fully solve the erosion issue, right? Which is why I wanted to extend the retaining wall. But I got tired, we were dealt with it for a year, and I finally gave up and agreed to attempt some of the ground cover measures that Mark had recommended. The issue is that there was no soil left behind our home. All right, it's like, and right now it's like concrete. So anyway, so we did table that for now and asked the county what we asked the planning commission is that the county come back and reassess after a year, and if the wall was needed to extend it, which was the original recommendation of the county, that we could put it in. So what I think was not well articulated was what the work we did actually improved water quality. The numbers that are there, we paid $6,000 for a water quality impact assessment, right? As well as additional few $1,000s for the wetlands assessment. What it showed is we increased filtration for both phosphorus and nitrogen, because it wasn't just a retaining wall, it was a full drainage system, and we added filtration. And then additionally, to date, we have already gone forward with the mitigation. They called for 2 canopy trees, which we prefer to do white oak, but again, the ground's so hard that even the landscaper recommended waiting on those. Well, we planted 4 understory trees, which was recommended. And instead of 6 shrubs, we've actually done 24. Those can be verified right now. So the goal for us, right, I'm gonna spend life on the water, right? We're environmentalists. I want to improve the quality. So we're gonna go well and above what the minimum is. And the recommendations we had proposed were twice what the county had originally recommended. So again, a 3-year process. A lot of the fault is on me, right? And dealing with this from overseas. And part of the reason I pulled back on installing retaining walls because I'm currently under orders to go back overseas. The problem is there's not a base to go to right now. So that could change tomorrow or next week. But the recommendation based on Mark's assessment when Shawnee came back out was to attempt various ground covers, some invasive to Virginia, some non-invasive. But the erosion issue, you know, I think we're all in agreement with the county that we can never fully stop it. We can only slow it. And it will require constant fill and ground cover replacement. So yes, we did install the drainage system. My driveway had sunk 6 inches. We had that taken up, repacked with the drainage system put in. These are all parts of it, and these are all things I've been through with the planning commission a couple of times. So they agreed that what we did was, I think, agreed based on our vote that it was in the best interest of our home. Our home now, the soil is down to the footers. The entire back of our home has gone down since we moved in 2018. Has gone down between 16 and 24 inches. It's just gone. Now I have construction debris, have pieces and parts of a leftover barn that was once on the property, including bricks and mortar, and that's where we're at. So that's I can never fully mitigate. I think we have solved the issue on if you're facing our home, the left side of our home in the back, as the picture showed. The right side of the home continues to erode every time we get a hard rainfall. So again, our preference is to save what will be $15,000 and not have to build an additional retaining wall. But I can't even plant ground cover right now because I can't get into the soil enough without to be able to do so. So I'm happy. I can answer any questions. We've gone back and forth for 3 years now, 43 pages of emails with the county. I think we've acted in good faith, and I think the county has as well. Right, there was some miscommunication on building standards and Virginia Uniform Building Code, and all that was resolved. Right, they came out, took the pictures, and verified that everything was built in accordance with applicable standards. But we're still continue to face a battle with our home, and I am genuinely worried about the future and what happens as it continues to erode. But we agreed to every mitigation. I look to improve the filtration, and we've already exceeded what was recommended by the county and what we had proposed in our last meeting with the planning commission. Standing by for any questions or clarification on anything I may have said.
Mr. Baker, I know it'll sound silly, but could you please state your name for the record and your address?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. My name is Jeff Baker. My wife Christina is behind me, 312 Lakeview Lane, Carrollton, Virginia, 23314. And I do not know what zone I'm in, to be quite honest with you. I spent 4 of the last 5 years in another part of the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Public hearing is hereby declared open. Anyone willing to speak for or against? Hearing none, seeing none. Public hearing is hereby closed. Board members? Joel, you want to start?
No, I mean, I've talked to my planning commissioners, and, I mean, I'm prepared to make a motion to pass the exception of the request for the bakers
As the planning
as,
commission.
as presented with the conditions set forth by the planning commission.
I would like to ask one question, because what disturbs me mostly was if you got a letter telling you not to do something, and you go ahead and do it anyway, and then you come to the board, that tells me that you know what you should be doing in the very beginning, and it was not done.
If I may, Mr. Jefferson,
Yeah.
when I first read that, that's the feeling that I get, particularly when you've been on this board for a little while and you've seen what appears, at least sometimes, people that are like, I'll just do what I want and ask for forgiveness later. Knowing this property even prior before the house was built, and probably knowing who built it, there's some challenges there that it's very unfortunate for the homeowner. And not just him being overseas, but there's some dynamics here that when I first read it, you don't know, reading it. It's not, it doesn't come across to me. It may come at first, you're thinking defiant behavior or doing something that you want to do and ask for forgiveness later. But as I've read into this and looked at and know the property, that kind of stuff, and I knew it prior before that being built on it, I don't think that's the same case that maybe you and I've seen in the past. That's just my feeling on it, Mr. Jefferson.
Ms. Hiller?
From what I've seen and what I've read about it, it seems like the house shouldn't have been built there to start off with, on that piece of land, from what I've looked at. They bought it, they got it, and he saw needs the house was going away. He's losing his house. So I guess, you kind of make provisions. Do I lose my house, or do I try to do something to help stop it? And I guess, that's the way I look at it. I'm not saying what he did was right, and he said what he did was probably wrong. But I guess you get to a point where you feel like you need to do something to protect your property.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why we got these ordinances in
Yep,
place.
you're exactly right.
And permitting system in place. And, I mean, we have to follow
Yeah,
the standards, so to speak.
I understand.
But I understand what you did,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm just looking at the history
I
of it.
understand.
Mr. Gardner, you got anything?
No, I don't have anything. I think there's a motion on the floor right now.
Well,
Mr. Creed.
it's a motion,
Did
but we
you make a
also,
motion?
you have, time to comment if you
Okay.
have to. Ms. Roundtree?
Yes, I just like one point of clarification, that the planning commission recommendation does not require this homeowner to remove the patio or the shed, because that's what I'm in favor of letting them keep those structures. So I just want to clarify that was their motion that was intended.
As I understood, it says that the property needs to be maintained in such that if those items need to be moved for future use of that reserve landfill area, or not landfill, I guess it's a septic, whatever, that they've got to be able to move those items when they're needed. So I guess not to build something to where it has them come back and say, we can't move the shed now, we can't move this. And they've agreed to that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, motion on the floor?
Yep.
Madam?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Can't do it though. All right. Let's see, where are we?
Here at the,
County Administrative Report.
Yes, sir, and I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. There are a couple of items in your agenda, just as informational items, that I would point your attention to with regard to, the strategic plan update, and then there's some other matters in there for several reports and other items in there for your information. I would just point out for the board, you all likely got information this week with regard to the VACO Region 1 meeting in New Kent on June 12th. If anybody's interested, let us know. I believe there was a link in the email where you could go in and just register or RSVP. I would encourage you to do that if you're planning to go. Anybody who needs transportation coordination, let us know. I know Mr. Garner's already reached out to us, and we'll certainly work with you all on that.
You gonna drive us on down there? Is that what it is?
I'm sorry?
You gonna take us down there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll get you there and back. The other item is just something for you all to be thinking about over the next few weeks. It's really time for your next board retreat. If you recall, last year, you held a retreat, developed your strategic plan, and we've really addressed most of the items in the strategic plan at this point. And so we need to begin to have conversations with you all about not just the next 12 months, but next few years in terms of what that strategic plan looks like. So again, just to get you thinking tonight about some potential dates for a board retreat, and we'll come back to you in the next couple of meetings to see if we can tie that down.
All right, that's it?
Yes.
All right, item 15, unfinished old business. Item A, ordinance to amend and react to Appendix B. Zoning Article 5 for the battery energy storage section.
Mr. Jefferson, can I get about a 5-minute break?
5-minute break?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take a 5-minute break, Miss Amy.
All right.
We'll reconvene.
All right, so the first old business item for you tonight is the consideration of the battery energy storage system draft ordinance.
Ms. Amy,
Yes.
if I could, please. I think the consensus of the board is, it's some issues that we need to look at further.
Okay.
And we have, we have 2 more meetings that we can actually deal with this. So we want to table this item tonight until our next meeting.
Okay,
With the
sure,
work session?
Yes,
in June.
Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine with
that'd
me.
be fine.
Make a motion to table.
Madam?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. All right, new business?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Gotcha. All right, saving the best for last. This is a waiver request related to a family member transfer subdivision located on 18321 Breezy Hill Lane. That's in election district number 4, specifically tax map 3201057G. The current zoning for the property is rural agricultural conservation, and the specific request is to waive certain sections of the subdivision ordinance to create a family member transfer subdivision along a private ingress-egress easement that already serves more than one parcel. The parcel in its current size as of February of this year is 4.11 acres. I'll explain why it's that here in just a minute. The current owner purchased it in 2022. Breezy Hill Lane is a 50-foot wide ingress-egress easement with an existing roadway maintenance agreement that was established back in 2021. There was a recent boundary line adjustment in February because the original parcel was 2.83 acres, and then adding this 1.28 acres back in February, that portion is what they are seeking to cut off through the family member subdivision. So as a result, if this waiver is approved tonight, both parcels would meet the underlying RAC zoning requirements for those lot sizes. This is the lot pre boundary line adjustment in February. The maps haven't updated as of yet. So the current property line actually comes up here past the tree line a little ways and squares down to Breezy Hill for that 1.28 acres. That's Muddy Cross Road going down there with the Breezy Hill intersection. This is your zoning map. You can see a rural residential subdivision under the sliding scale, those 3 green parcels there to the south. Everything else is RAC in the neighborhood. The future land use map, you can see the border there to the east of the Development Service District, the Newport Development Service District. And outside of that, as you all know, the future land use plan calls for RAC or environmental conservation most everywhere else throughout the county. And this is that 1.28 section that was added in February, which, again, would be the new parcel if this were to be approved this evening by you all. This is the approach to Breezy Hill Lane as you're going down Muddy Cross. This is about 250 feet down Breezy Hill, looking to the left, the existing parcel as it sits. And then this is coming down the opposite direction, coming from Breezy Hill Meadworks down the private road, and that's where the lot will go there in the tree line. The comprehensive plan, again, does call for RAC, and small clusters of residential uses such as this are appropriate. Section 3.2.4A4 of your subdivision ordinance states that no more than one lot may be created from a single tract of land that is accessed from a single easement of right-of-way unless approved by this board upon recommendation from the Planning Commission. Furthermore, Section 5.91C states that any new roads in the county must be public and comply with VDOT standards. The normal procedure is once you hit that third parcel, the ordinance requires that road to come into VDOT standards. So absent this waiver, that road would have to come into VDOT standards were a subdivision be put back there. Your subdivision ordinance lists certain criteria for waivers that you all should take into consideration before you act on those. The first one is that granting the waiver will not have an adverse impact on land use compatibility. Staff finds that the proposed use is consistent with the current zoning district and the land use designation from the comp plan. The second criteria is that strict adherence to the regulations would result in substantial injustice or hardship. And we find that strict adherence to those regulations would not create any injustices or hardships, and that the property is being used currently with its intended residential purpose. The third criteria is that the waiver has not been opposed by the county, VDOT engineer, or health official. We have received no concerns with the application from those offices, other than our concerns with the ordinance requirements. The fourth is that granting the administrative waiver shall be consistent with the purposes and intent of the subdivision ordinance and the zoning ordinance. As you all know, the intent of these ordinances here in the county is to promote our orderly development and to protect the public health, safety, and welfare by ensuring safe access to include all emergency service vehicles, which was why this provision was put in place back in 2021, to examine these type of situations on a case-by-case basis. We do not find that the waiver request is consistent with that particular part of the ordinance. Therefore, we don't recommend approval of the waiver because it fails to meet these criteria that I've outlined this evening. Mr. McCullough, the applicant, is here tonight. I believe the property owner is here as well. Should you have any questions for them this evening, or would like to hear from them?
Well, if the applicant is here, we can have him speak. Can
If you care to, that's fine.
is the applicant present?
First of all, thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak. Name's Mark McCullough. I'm currently residing with my son at 18321 Muddy Cross Drive, Smithfield, Virginia. I've got my wife with me, Tracy, my son Josh. And I guess just a brief overview of us and our move to Smithfield, Virginia, is we raised our family in Middle Tennessee, just south of the Nashville area. We had a small business for the past 20 years and found ourselves as empty nesters with 2 kids on the West Coast, Josh on the East Coast, and one that's going to relocate somewhere, we're not too sure where. So we decided to sell everything and relocate to get closer to family, because we recognize as we age in life, even though we're very healthy right now, that at some point in the future, time's going to catch up with us, and it would be nice to have family close by to assist, to extend us as long as we can without going into assisted living. So have 2 grandkids here, a 15-year-old and a 6-year-old. So right now, at the health that we're in, is there the primary objective to get out here is to spend time in their lives along with our family, and then long-term will be to have some assistance from our son and our daughter-in-law as we get a little bit older. So living next door to them would be optimal, because obviously a short path through the woods to integrate the 2 families together would be absolutely awesome. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell and what we're trying to accomplish.
All right.
So if you have any questions for myself, my wife, or my son, feel free.
All right. Thank you. All right, board members. Your district, Joe?
See if anybody had any comments.
Nope. I'm
No
good.
comment.
I'm good with it.
Make a motion to approve the McCullough family member transfer subdivision waiver request.
Madam?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Akery?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Ms. Roundtree?
Did you hear me?
Should be gone. Ms. Roundtree?
It's gone.
She gone. Took that last one, right?
Hey, sorry about that.
Where did she leave us?
All right, we got a motion on the floor for the 26.1 McCullen waiver. You vote in favor or against? Hello? Okay.
Oh, my apologies, yes.
Okay, all right,
Chairman Jefferson.
yes. All right, I think the next item we have on the agenda is the cap to the fund balance. Mr. Gardner, you presented this item, you want to discuss it?
Yes, there appears to be a lot of confusion with the public opinion about the rainy day fund or the unassigned general fund balance. So what I'm proposing is to keep it the same intent. Currently, there's a target amount of 15%, and what I'm proposing is a cap that will allow the excess funds be moved over from the rainy day fund to the general operating funds. So what we do is establish a cap, and then the leftovers just go back into the general fund. But the rainy day fund is, strictly for situational things such as Windsor. If there's a sewer failure, same with Gatlin Point, there's a sewer failure. That money is there for emergencies and for operating funds in case to keep the county up and running. So it doesn't change anything, it just caps it and moves excess money from what the cap amount might be, and that the cap is up for discussion. What the board feels is there's a reasonable reserve to keep, and then simply just move excess funds if they're available.
Okay, Mr. Aker, you want to start?
Sure. So, Mr. Gardner brings up a good point. We have a minimum requirement policy, but it doesn't talk about how much we should allow it to grow to. It doesn't put a cap on it. And with that, I guess even during our last meeting, we asked exactly how much was in there, and we have an estimate. So we probably need a better number to know exactly what the cap should be. But some of this is kind of covering what we've covered to some degree. But I know about 10 years ago, coming onto the board, it appeared, and I talked to at least one other board member at the time, appeared at the time that in our budget in the county, virtually every division, I guess the way to put it, all had some contingency baked into their budget. So the what-ifs were baked into the budget. As it's been for a number of years around this county, we always trim off the fat and tighten the purse strings, and that year that's what we did. All the contingency funds were pulled out of each division and put into one location, and the contingency funds were in this reserve fund. I've talked about it before when I got on the board. And this seems to be the practice of other governments. They'll have leftover money here and leftover money there. We brought everything into one location. So what you see is your reserve. There's no other fat to go get it. So when that money's gone, it's gone, only way it's been added to is if we realize some savings and it's funds that have not been assigned, it ends up being in the reserve fund. But as we move forward, and it seems to be the trending is to use the reserve funds for more than just emergencies, I start to have some concerns. And I guess with that concern, I feel like I'm somewhat obligated to shine a light on things that I feel are I'll call it a liability to the county, that this, if it were $30 million, probably would have a significant dent in if we were having to deal with it. We know that as a board here, we were brought to, our staff brought to our attention the concern about the sewer system in the town of Windsor. We don't need to cover exactly all the challenges with that, and I give our staff, the county staff, kudos for keeping that system up and running. But that system, of course, was created from a one-time fund, ironically enough. We just did this thing. But anyway, one-time fund that was realized through a project that was coming through the county and allows this county to put the sewer system into the Windsor area. That probably explains why the sewer system isn't the optimal design that we would say today they should have probably done. I think it's what they could afford with the amount of money they had in hand, if you will. For some time now, that system has been, I say maxed out. They haven't been able to add to the system because of the way it's designed. I'm being very general. There's 4 legs, et cetera. But the point is they're property owners in the town of Windsor that have not been able to build on their property because of the system and the capacity of the system. So that's one thing. But the other part is, being a vacuum system, this board has realized, we were briefed one time by county staff, that there was a critical issue with the system. The parts were limited, if available at all, to replace the pumps. We had significant leakage, and we were possibly going to have to start pumping these pots that service 2 or 3, just a handful at best, residences. The money that would have been involved if that system had failed, as our staff, if they hadn't been on top of it, if it had failed, would have been enormous, just to keep people able to live in their homes in the town of Windsor. Obviously, somebody would have had to go onto the drawing board pretty quick and figure out what to do about this system. And we'd either put a Band-Aid on it, or somebody would have said, there's no Band-Aid that can solve this problem, we're going to need a new system. So it would have been millions of dollars. We've used the term kicking the can down the road. It's been used all over the place this budget season. This can hasn't been kicked. We've just been holding our breath and praying we wouldn't have to use this reserve fund. I feel that as the reserve fund, as we start to cap a reserve fund, because the cost of this system alone is going to get enormous as time goes on, to replace, to modify, or to properly address this issue. And this is just one issue. This doesn't talk about emergency services. This doesn't talk about other parts of the county that have needs, but I'm just focused on this right now. This is the reason why we had that fund and why we let the fund grow, because we knew, for example, the Windsor sewer system, if we had to do something emergent today, it was going to cost a lot more than it did 10 years ago when we established the 15% minimum on our reserve fund. So I guess with that, as we look to cap, figure out what the cap is, if there's money there that may be residual from placing the cap, we need to address the Windsor sewer system. And the way I say address it, we collaborate with the town of Windsor, figure out how we can make this a self-sustaining system, and maybe move towards a system that can be turned over to the town of Windsor in such a way that they can run it. And the citizens, just like our water system, people in the county aren't paying for something they'll never use. The water system is another issue. That's just not an emergent one. That's more of another example of things that we need to make self-sustaining at some point in time. Don't know that we'll live long enough to see all that. So I just say that to say that as we look to cap this, we need to make sure some part of that money is used to go ahead and address this issue. It's not going to be enough to replace the system. It's not going to be enough to potentially add to capacity. I think what it is start to move forward in a collaboration between the town and the county to make sure that we have a plan in place. First of all, so we have somewhere to move and figure out what it's going to cost and how we pay for it, but also to get an idea if we had a catastrophic incident, how much that might cost. So that's just one project, but it's a big one when it comes to the town of Windsor.
And with that thought, well, I should let you all go first. Mr. Ely?
No, I'm fine. I mean, I don't know how you, I mean, it is a cap. It's a cap there. What they say a percentage is what they say you should keep. But I agree with Mr. Avery. If with the town of Windsor, I mean, that's been going on now for several years. I know property owners there too that have property that they can't build on just because they can't hook onto the system because the system won't handle it, just won't take it. So they're paying $37,000 for an acre of ground that they can't use anything except cut the grass on or plant a tree on maybe. But I've got a email today from Don about gubernatorial meeting with Windsor coming up. Hopefully we can get one with them. And that's one of the big things I would definitely like to sit down and talk to them about. Let's figure out what this thing is going to do, how long it's going to take to get it done, what it's going to cost to get it done. And maybe we can use, if any additional money, we could put it into a fund. I don't know if you can put it in a separate fund or keep it into that fund that we already have. I don't know. But if not, we're going to have to borrow the money, and that's going to be paid back and then you had to pay interest on that money. So whatever we have that we can use to do that job with will be less taxes and less money on the customers or the constituents in this county. So, that being said, I don't know, I don't know how to put a cap. I don't, based on what the needs are.
Mr. Gardner?
Well, simply put, what is a significant amount of money that's needed to keep the county running? Estimated budget per month, I guess, could be anywhere from, I guess, 12 million, 13 million to keep the county up and running. So figuring a couple of months worth, $26 million plus additional funds in case of an emergency, fire, hurricane. So what I'm asking for is essential calculated figure that we have guaranteed as a rainy day fund for those emergencies and contingencies, and then anything else over that could be plowed back into the general operating fund, used to reduce taxes and go forward with other projects. So simply, it's just a way of managing funds and fiscal responsibility.
I feel this way, and Joel made up a good point, but that's just one scenario that could take place. I think it's upon the county to look at what other potential emergency situation we might have that could cost millions of dollars. If we're talking about moving money from the fund balance to an operating account, to me, that's not good business practice. And you want to accomplish the same thing. You want the money to be used for emergency situations. You want it to be used to keep the county running. You want it to be used for capital improvement projects or whatever. So it don't make sense to move it from that account to an operating account and have the same purpose.
And here's the rainy day fund is just used for an emergency situation. What we would end up doing, have to go out and get a bond issue to fix the sewer. Just so when we issue the bond, then we pay the rainy day fund back with part of that bond issue, and then move forward with the remainder part of the bond issue and repair or replace the existing sewer system, for example. So it's just a loan that's going to be repaid.
I think this is something we need to put more thought into and not really come to a conclusion tonight about a cap.
I know Ms. Roundtree needs to comment, but I think that this is an opportunity for staff to give us some ideas on things like storm, based on past experience, what in current dollars, what would that look like? The project I brought up, I already talked that to death. But other items that they would say, y'all haven't thought about this, y'all might want to think about that, and kind of put all the cards on the table so that we can really determine is the minimum percentage right now appropriate, and what should the cap be? And we're always building a foundation for the next board. When we have a cap, okay, what does that cap mean? When I say what does a cap mean, when you have money more than that, and it's a whole nother group here, does that mean you go buy all those wants that people talk about? Or does it have some framework that says where that money is used and how it's responsibly used? At least it gives the next generation idea of why we capped it. We didn't just say, once you get this limit, you can go blow that money or use it any way you want. Give it some direction, so.
Okay, Ms. Roundtree?
Yeah, I entirely agree with Chairman Jefferson in your perspective there. I do not also feel equipped to take any action on this before staff give their recommendations, which is what we pay them to do, as well as consulting with our financial advisors. I think a minimum makes a lot of good financial sense, but to establish a cap and then divert money to another area without entirely understanding what costs could arise, I would not agree with. So I don't feel equipped tonight to take any action either.
Okay.
So we're going to ask staff to give us
Some preliminaries, yeah.
I mean, first of all, we'd like to know where we are on the reserve fund. And that's not a dig, it's just, it's
No, no,
probably
no.
very dynamic. Get an idea where we are. What does it look like? I've mentioned the storm part, because you're more involved back in the day on that. Other items that staff would say, have they considered this, have they considered that? Because, we only look at one or two big items at a time. We don't realize that the stars could align, you get hit by more than just a couple. And I think Ms. Roundtree and Ms. Jefferson are spot on. We get staff to give us some information. We digest it. This also allows our community to look at some of the things that they haven't thought about,
Right.
I would really like to know about that sewer system in Wenzel. I think it's time to get some costs together, just to figure out what it will cost to bring it up to date. Like you said, maybe we could talk to them, it could be taken over by the town, because sooner or later, she's gonna fail.
Well, and to kind of dive into that just for a second, I agree. I think that what probably would have to happen, and I'm definitely not, this is out of my league, is that you would bring somebody in, an engineer or something, that comes up with a plan on how you, if there are new subdivisions, this is how you kind of transition to get where you're going. I think to sit down to begin with the town makes sense, so we can all get the vision. But as far as how you get there, we get the experts in the door, which always costs money, but I think it'd be well worth the expenses.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah, just couple of quick things, Mr. Chairman.
I also think a decision such as this might be a good topic for our next strategic plan, retreat and meeting. I don't think this is something we rush. I think we study this.
Well, we agree with that. We know it's gonna take some time. It won't be done in the next
No.
couple of meetings or so, I don't think.
No, so again, just a couple of quick things. One is, we use terminology somewhat loosely to help the public perhaps get a sense of what we're doing or how things are categorized. There's no such thing as a rainy day fund. I just need to put that out there, because we use that term
We need to
very
use the right
loosely, and that's not a local government fund. I need to make sure that everybody understands that. That's just terminology that we use to help people understand. We might also call it a savings account. It's also not a savings account in terms of governmental accounting or how we do things. And so we do need to spend some time talking about specifically how does our financial side work in terms of money that comes in, revenues above expenses. When there's a surplus of revenues in any given year, how is that money dealt with? Because there are some requirements, some state code requirements. Again, we're more than glad to provide that information. I think the other conversation that you all were having, which is spot on in terms of some things that we need to be looking at longer term, and I agree with Ms. Roundtree, it's probably a great conversation for your strategic plan discussion. But yeah, what do you do longer term for some of those major projects that we know are going to cost perhaps tens of millions of dollars? Whether it's the sewer system in Windsor or infrastructure in any other parts of the county. How are we going to deal with those kinds of things? It's better to develop a plan, even if you can't necessarily do it right now, at least have a plan for how you get there. And so, we look forward to providing that information and having that conversation with you all.
Right, good. Your second item?
Okay, the second item, I had the pleasure of just kind of broaching the subject with Mr. Robertson prior to our meeting, and he was trying to explain to me that what I'm recommending or proposing may be a little off balance. However, I want to throw this out to the rest of the board so that maybe I can explain it a little bit better. Now, the county budget comprises of state funds, and it has comprised of local revenues. Currently, the budget is in consideration of both these funds. What we don't have right now are the state funds. We don't know what we're going to get in terms of funding for schools and for operating costs. So it's a huge unknown at this time. Currently, we passed a budget that is pretty much all encompassing without state funds. So we're going to have to make some adjustments when we get how much we're going to obtain from the state. So in case the state General Assembly cannot pass legislation authorizing funding for the state of Virginia, what I'm proposing is that we fall back to a more fiscal responsible funding action, such as keeping the current budget flat rolling into the next fiscal year, subject to non-availability of state funds. So we're going to hold back on the new budget, but yet fund at the current level. So what that really does is that we're not operating on funds that we haven't got in our bank account just yet.
I don't think you can do that because you got to look at, we fund this year, inflation takes place, so that increases your budget right there, so you can't operate on the same budget we approved this year for next year. And if you have an emergency situation where we don't have state funds or whatever, then we have to utilize what we got
Right, we have
and replace them when we do get those funds.
and we do have the unassigned general funds to use just in case
Right.
for that contingency.
So
So
it
running,
sounds like it's very similar, or close to, I think, if I'm following you. A few years back, and this had to do with schools because the state budget hadn't been passed. This board approved, I'm generalizing, I guess, approved the budget for the schools and set aside, I think it was $800,000, doesn't matter how much, an amount, with the idea that if the state funding that was being projected did not happen, then the county would then push the 800,000 or whatever the amount was into the school's budget, or coffers, whatever you want to call it. It got a little off kilter because at that time we were doing line items for the schools, and I think our county administrator just, the only one that he felt comfortable with holding it for right now was the salaries or personnel budget items, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the kickback was they couldn't sign contracts and all that, and it was a big mess. But the intent was, I think, very similar to what you're saying. We don't know what the state's going to give to the schools. This current administration definitely touts, fortunately for schools, very supportive for school teachers, raises, funding, etc. So one would assume with that type of commitment that there's going to be a substantial amount of money coming from the state to our schools. I think that's kind of where you're
that's
getting at.
correct, absolutely.
But I don't know, I don't know how we end up there.
So I think part of the conversation that we had was the difference between what happens with the federal government, where they have some type of continuing resolution or some provision that allows them to essentially continue with the same budget over time. Federal government prints money, first of all. Secondly, the Commonwealth of Virginia has a requirement, a legal requirement to adopt a budget before July 1st. Now, let's assume worst case, craziness happens in Richmond, and it's crazy right now, that they do not adopt a budget. The scenario that we're creating would assume that they don't create a budget for another 12 months. Because otherwise, we staff are automatically going to make provisions to cut back on spending until those funds start to come in, because there's certain things that we can't do. We don't have the funding to float the state's appropriation to the county for 12 months. The other is, our budget is not, I shouldn't say you can't. It would not be advisable to try to slice our budget into 12 equal parts. Every month is different in terms of our expenditures Every month is different in terms of our revenues. Our revenues come in on June 5th and December 5th, in terms of the largest bulk of our revenues. And so I get what the intent is, but from the standpoint of operationally implementing that, it would be extremely tricky.
All right. Well, I think that's another long-term discussion. And if nothing else,
That's it.
that's it. Mr. Roundtree, you got anything?
I'm not in favor of that suggestion. Agree with everything that was said.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it a little bit more later, I guess. So, with that said, we need to get a motion for adjournment. All right.
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Thank you all.
Pick it up.